So good afternoon. My name is Karren Villalobos. I am the superintendent principal of East Nicholaus High School District, which is in Northern California, about 302 ADA as of yesterday afternoon. So I am very excited to be here this afternoon and wanted to share just a few of the things, specifically one today that we're working on at East Nicholaus High School. I certainly think comparatively to some of the presentations, we are at our infancy with implementing future-ready projects, but this one certainly is exciting for us and for a school district our size. So, a little bit of background. I am not a high school person by background. I was raised a K-8 superintendent principal. I taught elementary school. So my first step into the high school world has been as a superintendent principal at East Nicholaus High School, and I share that with you because pretty much everything that I've learned at high school has been in high school, and I've relied on the 3 R's. And the 3 R's I rely on are recommendations, research, and then relationships. And we've heard that a few times today. And the relationships really are relying on the people, the experts at the County Office of Education, our colleagues, those people out in the field who really have kind of forged the path. And we've heard a lot of those things. The lucky break that we got 2 years ago was we hired an assistant principal at East Nicholaus High School who brought with her a lot of expertise, one of which was Project Lead the Way. And her introduction to Project Lead the Way for our district kind of stemmed the tide of really getting into technology and taking it seriously at East Nicholaus High School. So let me just give you a little background of East Nicholaus High School. We are a very meat and potato district. We, as you can kind of see on the graphic, highly Caucasian white background. We are rural, and so a lot of people think that we're in a farming community, so we will have a high Hispanic population. That's not the case. We have minimal plots out in Nicholaus, 10 acres. So we don't have a transient population. We have an incredibly stable population. We have a waiting list to get into our school. Our school district has actually capped enrollment and does not want growth. So kind of interesting comparatively to many districts in California, our community likes us small. And as those of you who are from small school districts know, there's inherent challenges with economy of scale when you are running a small school district. So I feel like that's become one of my charges, is to really talk to small school districts, which make up about 40% of the districts in California, and provide resources that we can all rally around when we don't have, our supplemental funding is nil. We don't get English language population supplemental funding, foster youth, no, low income, none. So we are running a budget that is required to do all of our requirements with no additional funding. So things like Project Lead the Way are really critical for a district our size. So a little background. One thing that did happen before I got to Nicholaus, and probably one of the more brilliant things that the former superintendent did, was with the staff, they created pathways. And we've really been successful on those pathways, and our A through G requirements have actually increased to over 50% of students take A through G or meet A through G requirements now. So we started with, in 2009 with academic, agricultural, we moved to industrial arts, we got to VAPA eventually, and then in 2014 we started STEM, which was exciting with the Project Lead the Way grant. We are part of the I3 grant, so we are in the study. The I3 grant is a 4-year grant, so our freshman students started last year, and that class, it was a lottery system to get into the grant, into the class. The rest of our students, so we have a class of about 87 students in our freshman class, and the other students are the constant in our study with the I3 grant and Project Lead the Way. It's been, there are 15 students in the class, and they have articulated into the second year. The first year they did Intro to Engineering Design, and this year they will be doing Principles of Engineer. We did our LCAP study, and one of the questions we asked, which was fairly open-ended, was what is your favorite class and why? And unequivocally, we had 13 responses, and there's only 15 students in the class, so almost every student who was in that class as a freshman said that was their favorite class. And they said because it was hands-on, because we learned something, because it was things we'd never been exposed to. So that was pretty exciting for us. This slide just talks about the fact that we spend the freshman year, every student at East Nicholaus is exposed to every pathway. So even if they're not interested in sports medicine, or even if they're not necessarily interested in VAPA or STEM, they do spend several weeks being introduced to that pathway. And we feel like that's a great way for us to introduce all students. You know, females maybe are less represented populations of students who may not go into those pathways. So this is just a short clip if you're not familiar with Project Lead the Way. Our IT guy gave me the shortest one that he could find, just for your viewing pleasure.
You get to build stuff, you get to do statistics. It helps me with math, science. I really like the brainstorming and the design process and the hands-on.
The teamwork, most of all, getting together in a group of 3, all of us pulling our own weight and coming together to create like an amazing project.
You get a really great idea of just in general how the world works. Like even if you're not planning to go into engineering, it gives you a great kind of insight as to how things work and why things are the way they are.
Our country needs more engineers. We need more technical people. Project Lead the Way allows us to start those people, those students on that path.
Learning problem-solving skills that Project Lead the Way curriculum teaches you is going to help you in whatever field that you go through.
We offer engineering for high school students that require students to think critically, to problem solve, but also to learn critical skills that will give them the advantage in the marketplace.
I feel like I've learned a lot better teamwork skills from group projects.
A lot of hands-on projects, get to destroy it and then rebuild it.
The opportunities for these are amazing. There's so many different types of courses.
It gets you prepared and ready for college and then eventually for the real world.
You take the theory and you apply it with hands-on skills, and the students see the relationships and they grow from there.
They're more successful. It works.
My dad is an engineer, and he said that what we are doing in class is the basics of what he will do in his job.
It's the best package I've ever seen.
It is amazing. If you are interested in science, math, anything of that sort, it's definitely something you should take. It's a life-changing experience.
So as I mentioned, the cohort is 15 students. The grant provided a brand new state-of-the-art computer lab, 3D printer, and probably about $350,000 worth of training and the computer lab. The beautiful thing is now our yearbook class is using a state-of-the-art facility that they never would have had, comparatively speaking. So it's been a really great system for us. This year the students will be doing some robotics, and they've already expressed some excitement about that. And then the interesting thing for me was, once I got into Project Lead the Way, was to find out how many school districts really aren't familiar with it. And this was even in our own Sutter County. There's only 3 of the high schools out of the 5 in Sutter County who are participating. And so I feel like part of my responsibility now is to kind of share the message, and even if the I3 grant is not the perfect match for the district, I think we're just, being a superintendent principal of small districts, sometimes we just miss all of these really great opportunities. So part of my message has just been to really talk it up and really share with some of the great things we're doing with that grant. So I did want to just address a few of the challenges. Very conservative district that I work in. Certainly when we were doing the lottery system, there was a lot of conversation of, well, is it just for girls? Because of course we're trying to get more females into engineering. So there was a lot of conversation about really sharing the message of this is an equal opportunity, and really being sure that every student had the opportunity to get into the lottery, to be in the class. But it was, we spent a fair amount of time building capacity and sharing that message. And then it was rallying the staff. You know, technology is a small, in a small high school is certainly a challenge. As I said, we're certainly at the very beginning of building our capacity at East Nicholas High School. So really getting the staff around it. The I3 grant trains one teacher extensively every summer for that class. The nice thing is we have the curriculum, so now we'll have 2 classes in STEM. And the freshman class of this year will be able to enroll not in a lottery system, just in whoever's interested. And then again, going back to the experts, meeting Mike a couple of years ago was certainly the right time at the right place, and using Q as part of that platform. And then really continuing that conversation. So just some of the goals that I have as well for myself and East Nicholas High School is, as I've said, continue to advocate and really talk it up with colleagues and other superintendents. Building Project Lead the Way and making sure that people are aware of it. And then that small school district support. We've got a lot of advocates in the Small School District Association, but really looking out for small school districts for these unique opportunities. So again, my name's Karren Villalobos, Superintendent Principal of East Nicholas High School. Thank you.